Alright guys, so I am excited because today is the day we go to Woodward. It's like 10:30 in the morning, so we're waiting on John to get by. He had to go to the store for something, but we're all going to pile in cars, go to the gas station, get some gas, and head on down to Michigan. And we're hoping that towards the end of our trip we could stop by at Hitsville, and I want to bring you guys along, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hey guys, Sam here, and I just made it to Woodward Avenue, and we brought the Rambler. Jacob brought his truck, and we also brought the go-kart. So I stopped by Howard's from Old Car Alley, and we're looking at his 66 Galaxie. So Howard, how long have you had the car? And
well, it was just about 2 years ago this next coming week that I bought the car. I saw it on Craigslist and went looked at it, liked it, made an agreement with the guy, went back the day of the Harper cruise, gave him the money, got the title, took him for a ride in the Bel Air, and then he made me promise him I'll take him for a ride in this when I'm done. So next week I'm going to be taking him for a ride in the car.
That's cool.
So hopefully we can get out there for that. And but yeah, it's been a fun project. Kept me busy during the pandemic. Without this, I wouldn't have what little hair I have left would be gone if I didn't have
right.
Yeah.
The engine looks brand new. It's like, could you give me some details about the engine?
Well, the engine was stuck when I bought the car, so I pulled it out of the car and completely tore it down and rebuilt it. I did reuse the original pistons. I basically put new bearings, new oil pump, new cam, lifters, cam bearings. Had the heads rebuilt. I sent the heads out. It still has the original valves.
Oh, wow.
There were no wear on anything. Car had 76,000 miles. Looked like it was well maintained. Just no wear on anything. But he did rebuild the heads so they can run on unleaded gas without having to use an additive in the gas tank. And I do run the ethanol-free gas in the car, which is $4 a gallon. The other day I filled it up, took $75. Ooh. Not fun. Yeah, and that was about $75 a week is what I've been putting in it, because I've been driving it a lot.
Yeah, that's what cars are for.
Yeah, it had 76,000 miles when I bought it. It's got 79, just turned 79,000 yesterday, or day before yesterday. Cool. Yeah, so 2 days ago.
What would you call this blue? Like, is there a specific name for this blue, or
it's Ford blue? But Ford had several different tints of Ford blue.
Oh, okay.
So I actually took one of the valve covers to the paint store and had them match it to the original blue that this engine was.
Oh, so this is like original color.
Yes, that's the color that engine was the engine had not been repainted. It was just so greasy and nasty.
Oh, really? So you didn't really?
No, when I bought the car, it still had the original greasy, nasty covered.
Oh, okay.
So when you clean the grease off the valve covers, the paint was in pretty good shape.
Oh, wow.
But no, I did repaint the engine. I used automotive acrylic enamel, the same paint you'd use on the body. I used on the engine. I've learned over the years, yeah, it burns off around your ports eventually, but any paint does that. You can buy some of these really good engine paints. Eventually it burns off around the ports. Okay. So what I do is in the fall, when I'm done driving the car for the season, because I didn't paint the manifolds, I wanted them natural like they originally were, I just spray them with WD-40 when I store it in the winter, and they don't rust from condensation like when you get warm days after a cold spell. And then in the spring, obviously when you start it up, it smokes a little bit while it burns the WD-40 off, but it looks just that nice the next season. You know, you don't get that rust stain look.
That's cool.
So that's why I do that.
Yeah, but the engine bay and just everything in here looks so clean.
Yeah, it was a lot of work to make it look like that.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I mean, it was pretty nasty. It had a big York compressor right here. It had dealer installed AC. The old lady that bought the car new had the dealer install air conditioning. It's, from Florida, the cover.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So she probably never put the top down and always turned the AC on, but the condenser was bad, and just I wouldn't use the AC if it had it and worked. I wouldn't use it. I like the windows open. I like the air blowing around.
That's how I'm with my Challenger. Me and Mikey, every time we get in, the windows go down.
And like my dad goes, you know, you have AC, and I go, yeah, I forget. You know, I'm so used to just having the windows down.
Yeah, I mean, I just enjoy the breeze,
Yeah.
and that's part of the fun of driving these old cars. Is it's got those big floor vents on the floor that you can
Yeah.
pull open, so you really get a lot of air through these cars, and they're quite comfortable to drive even in the hot weather. Though the other day when it was stifling sunny like this, yesterday it was.
Yeah.
I left the convertible top up, but I left the window down. The rear window unzips, so I left that down. And nice
good
airflow through
airflow.
the car, but it shades you from the sun. And like you're wearing a hat,
Yeah.
I have to wear a hat when I drive this car with the top down, so I don't burn the top of my head.
So what color paint would this like? Because like for my like Etzel, it's Moonrise Gray and the Snow White. What's the name, or do you not really?
The Ford shop manual calls it medium sage gold, but
Okay.
a lot of other people have told me that they have other names. But I did notice like Mercury uses one name, Lincoln uses another name, and it's basically the same formula, the same shade of paint, but just fancier names.
Right.
But yeah, when I bought it, I thought, yeah, I'm going to paint it back in the original color, because convertibles usually see them, they're red, they're black, and I wanted something that stood out different.
Yeah.
But now I'm seeing green convertibles everywhere.
Right. Yeah.
So I think people are starting to get back to that. Hey, let's use that original 60s color,
Yeah.
50s color. The original colors were unique, so that's why I kept it back to original. And people that restore cars, when you're putting something back to its factory original condition, and you want all the correct parts, you got to know where the car was assembled, because some assembly plants use different suppliers than others. So one component might be different on 166 than another one that was assembled in a different plant.
Oh wow.
So if you want it correct when you're done, you got to hunt for those parts. So doing a factory original restoration is actually quite a bit more work, because you're searching for correct original parts. To where if you were doing a custom, you could just run to your local auto parts and buy the aftermarket stuff and throw it on and you're done. And the aftermarket stuff is a heck of a lot cheaper than finding original stuff and having it shipped. But that's the fun I enjoy in restoring a car back to original. The fun is finding the correct original parts and making them function again and putting them back on. Nothing like rebuilding a wiper motor or a steering gear, it's just so I find it relaxing. Or rebuilding a carburetor, it's just, or the alternator, anything. To me, if I've had a stressful day, there isn't anything more relaxing for me to go sit in the garage and rebuild some component of some type.
Yeah, that's cool.
And I have a lot of people asking me what my next car is that I'm going to restore. That's my number one question I get asked. And my answer is I don't know. Because this, I would have never in a million years said, when I had the 60 Catalina, everybody was asking me, what's your next car? I would have never guessed it was going to be a 66 Galaxie convertible. Never in a million years. So who knows what that next car will be. It'll be what I find that I like at the moment, and I'll jump on it. I would like to do a 59 Chevy wagon, but they're out of the price range market-wise. I can't afford one. I'm not paying 10 grand for a complete rust bucket with no drivetrain. So I have a completely rebuilt 283. I could drop in one, but I just can't bring myself to spend that kind of money on it. I paid $3,700 for this car.
Oh wow.
And
terrible.
Including what I spent on restoring it and the cost I paid for the car, I got about $15,000 into it.
That's not that bad.
No, I could probably sell it as it sits right now for 25, 28, and if I fix up the paint, add another 10 grand to that. I'm gonna buff the paint, maybe. I don't know. Like I say, it says it came out of the spray gun. It hasn't been buffed or waxed or nothing.
Oh really?
It's just as I sprayed it.
Yeah, because the paint looks real good.
But like under the hood, no modeling, but on the top of the hood there's a little modeling, but yeah, it looks fine. I mean, you get it out in the sun, you don't really notice it so much.
Yeah.
And I haven't had any problem with it heating up, surprisingly. These big engine, look at the engine's 8 times the size of the radiator.
Yeah.
I mean, that radiator is like,
yeah.
That's a lot of coolant for it to cool. But it does the job. I mean, I haven't had any issues with I use that digital thermometer. Like I say, I point it right here at the thermostat housing. Typically 190, 200, 210. 210 is the highest I've ever seen it. And that was after it was idling for quite a while in drive.
That's not bad.
And so, yeah, I'm happy with it. It's been a really good, fun cruiser
Yeah.
for my everyday summer cruiser this season.
Yeah, it looks good.
And like I say, the truck is in the storage unit where the Bel Air was.
Yeah.
So it's half-mile walk to get the truck. So if I need to go somewhere, I
Just
take
get
the
in there.
Galaxie.
I don't blame you.
It's fun to drive.
Yeah. And like the chrome, did you do anything with the chrome?
I had the bumpers. I didn't. These are original, but the rest, a lot of the other chrome I had redone because it being a Florida car, that salt breeze in the air
Okay.
pitted all the chrome. Was really badly pitted, so I got $3,000 in chrome on the car, just in chrome plating.
Yeah,
The back bumper was twisted because the granddaughter looked like she put, because there's U-Haul connectors on the harness for a U-Haul trailer, so they put a U-Haul. One of my subscribers commented that probably had a U-Haul hitch on it because the bumper was twisted slightly, and yeah, it was because I found the U-Haul on the things on the wiring harness, so I thought, yep, that's exactly what caused. So that adds a little cost when I got to straighten bumpers and stuff.
Yeah, the back bumper on the Etzel, it looks like someone used jacks to jack it up, so it's kind of bent. So I'm debating on getting that one just fixed and redone because it's original to the car, or find one that's straight but needs re-chromed.
It's cheaper to find a straight one and have it re-chromed.
Yeah.
But if you want original,
Yeah.
you know.
Or what I would probably just keep, because I still have parts that I've replaced on my Etzel. I still have the original part. Like my dome light I replaced, I still have the cracked up.
You sound like me.
Yeah. I was like, it goes to the car,
Yeah,
so,
you gotta save it.
yeah,
You can't
so,
throw it away.
Like I replaced like this side of my Etzel. I still have that part of the grill. It's just like I still have, like I have a small pickle like on the front of the thing. I have extras, and like one, it's like I just gotta, just in case something because you never know.
That's so true. Somebody bumps it or years back I hit a deer with the Bel Air and it smashed the grill in and smashed the headlight assembly on the passenger side. I just went home, dug through my parts stash, and had it fixed in an hour.
Yeah, it's.
So, I tried to buy a 58 Edsel off a guy years ago. It was pristine. It was a coral, like a pink color, and it had the E475 engine. It had air. It was a 4-door, like with pillarless doors, and it was fully loaded. This was probably 15, 18 years ago. I made him some ridiculous offers, and he would not. It was original paint, original upholstery, and he just wouldn't sell the car because that's my favorite year of Edsels.
Yeah, the 58.
The 58. The 60s being the rarest.
Yeah.
But the 58s, I don't know. I just like the taillights and the styling of
I always
cars.
joke around with Eva because Eva has a 58. I'll always joke around, be like, mine's newer, and that means it's better. She goes, yours not, it's not that much newer, and it's the, but we always joke around with each other, and, but her car, it just needs a fuel pump, and then she'll be good. So she's looking into getting that. She got some new seats for it. Like she's, stocking up on parts also to get
put together.
Yeah, because she got it repainted a year ago or two, so she's slowly working on hers too, and that's how all of us are. We're slowly, and the only car that doesn't get a lot of work done on it is my Charger. That's just sitting in the paint shop, and it's fine as long as it's stored.
I have put a Charger on Instagram that I found. I had the fifth wheel trailer I have stored in the storage yard, and went up there to show it to some people, and there was a 69 Charger sitting in there, and it was one of the cars that was used in the Dukes of Hazzard.
Oh, really?
It was a green car originally, and they sanded it out and painted it to look like the General Lee, and they jumped it, so the front end was
destroyed.
Totally destroyed. There was no drivetrain in it anymore, and sometimes they pulled the drivetrains out because they towed them to jump them.
Oh, really?
And so I don't know if this was one that they'd towed, but the guy, you know, thinks it's worth a lot. He probably it
Yeah,
would be a gold
yeah.
mine because it was a solid body.
Yeah.
But the front was just trash from
Yeah.
being jumped. And but yeah, that was an actual car that
That's
was
cool.
used in the
That's
show.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I think that's my dream car. Is '69. They just look so good. Like that. Like it doesn't. They have
They
nice.
are good. I like the way
yeah.
the gas caps on
Yeah,
the top
the
of the rear quarter
flap,
panel.
yeah.
Of the, yeah.
My one buddy Nate, he goes to me. He goes, "Why does the '69 Charger look newer than your '73?" I go, "Listen, I don't know, but that '69 looks so good." You know.
Chrysler had a lot of good-looking cars in '69.
Yeah, they
I like
did.
their satellites, and you know, they're just good looking. I like there was a 340 Dart down on Woodward here that I got some video of.
Yeah, like we have a buddy who has a '69 Dart, and it's a four-door, but it still looks good. Like I tell Mike, I go, if I were to get a smaller car, because so far all of my cars are pretty big, but if I were to one day get a smaller car, I'd be fine with the Dart, because they're a good-looking car.
Yeah, my dad always had cars like that for company cars back in the '70s. He had Valiants, and his first company car was a police Fury with a police interceptor in it.
Oh wow.
And he complained because he drove a lot for work. He ran a 5-county park system, so he'd put 100,000 miles on a car in a couple of years, and he was complaining, I have to stop for gas sometimes twice a day in this car. Can you get me something a little more economical? So his next car they gave him was a Valiant with the slant 6.
Oh.
But it was like the most stripped down basic no option car.
Yeah.
It had a heater and wipers, and that was it. He's like, I want a radio and I want air conditioning in my next one. So every time he asked for more, and it got to the point to where just go to the dealer and order what you want, because they found that when they let them get the options, when they auctioned the cars, they got a lot more return on the car.
Really?
That made the difference to where it was more cost effective for them to buy the option cars. So they started letting the people that were driving the cars just go to the dealer and order them. So he always got fully loaded cars after that.
That's fine.
And I actually went to GM cars at that point too.
Oh, really?
He had a Chrysler, it was a Dodge Aries, and it was when they first came out. And I think it had 50,000 miles, and the engine had to be rebuilt, and the car wasn't even a year old. And he's like, nope. And the next car he got, I think, was a Cavalier. And that car, well, he got a new car every 3 years or 100,000 miles, whichever occurred first.
Oh wow.
And that car went over 100,000 miles, no trouble at all. So he just stuck with GM cars for a long time after that, until he started having issues with them.
My first car was almost a Cavalier.
Was it?
Yeah, it was that. But then my dad saw the Edsel. It was between the Edsel and a Gran Torino, and the Gran Torino was just blue from bumper to bumper, and like it had a big engine in it, and I was like, I go do, but then I looked at the Edsel and I was like, I gotta get the Edsel.
Yeah.
Like there was just something about the Edsel that spoke to me and said, hey, and then now I got the Edsel, and like the Edsel itself brought my one buddy to getting into wanting an older car, and he just got an '81 Camaro, and and he's like, man, I would love an Edsel. Like he started looking for Edsels at one point, and he goes, I just love your car, and I was like, me too, it's like, that's why, but like, because one day I was parked, and this one guy drove, and he goes, man, it's a shame that they went out of business, and he goes, the only reason why is because they were way ahead of their time. And which I totally
they
see
released them too, and the auto industry was in a recession in the late 50s too. And the 60, you got to get a 60 Edsel.
Yeah, that's what my buddy tells me all the time. His name's Nate. He's like, man, he's like, this is all you need. And at one point, before I got my Challenger, on Craigslist, I saw a 1960 for like $2,000. And I was like, I go, Dad, do we get it? I mean, it'll complete the collection, and we've been looking all like non-stop for it, like, because like literally once we get the 60, we got 58, 59, 60, and then we could,
I probably, when I'm out cruising, I see 58s, but most of them I see are 59s. But the 60, I've only seen one or two of them.
like the only time I saw a 60 Edsel is when I go to a car show, like an international
Yeah,
Edsel
you
car
had
show.
that Edsel
Yeah,
show, yeah.
that's the only time well, first of all, only time I've seen that many Edsels in one spot. Like I walked in, I was like, whoa, like I didn't know
Yeah.
there's this many out, in, public, But next year we're planning, Eva and I are planning on going to it's in Pennsylvania, there's one going, and I think my Edsel could make it, so I'm going to hopefully, and plus I could do stuff during the winter to get stuff done, so hopefully next year my Edsel could go, and I think it'd be cool to just bring mine to it where it's like, hey, here's your brothers and sisters,
Yeah, totally.
So
And bring a 60 back with you.
that'd be awesome.
Get a 60 wagon.
Yeah.
I think there was one in your video that with the Edsels.
Yeah.
It was a 60 wagon.
Yeah, the wagons are so cool. Like
the taillight on the.
yeah. like when I was getting chrome work done on my Edsel, we go in and we're like, yeah, we have a 59 Edsel, and they're like, oh no way, does this look familiar? And they hold out a grill because someone was getting a Villinger repainted. I go, yeah, it's a Villinger, because I could tell by the taillights, and I'm like, that is awesome.
I looked at a 59 Villager just before I bought this car. My dad and I.
Oh, really?
I told him I'm going to go look at an Edsel station wagon. Do you want to go with me? And he's like, sure. And the guy, when I talked to him, he says, yeah, it runs and drives. So we get there, wouldn't even crank over. He said the floors were solid. They were completely gone. I mean, the car was in really bad shape. He made it sound like it was a good car to start with.
Oh.
And I'm looking at this thing and I'm like, it was almost to the point of being parts car condition.
Oh, really? Yeah.
It was restorable, but it needed a lot of work.
Yeah. And when she got it, she literally drove it everywhere. But then she got a job where she has to help. She looks like she's a care taker. She looks over elderly people. So they're like, oh, you need a reliable car. And she's like, well, I have a 58 Edsel. They're like, yeah, that's not going to do.
Yeah, but her clients would probably be out there.
Yeah.
Take me for a ride in that car.
One time she did have a client that his name was Mr. Kelly, and she goes, hey, could you bring your car over one day? I go, yeah, and because she bought a Chevy Cruze just for so I pulled up and he walks out. He goes, man, this is so cool. I gave him for a ride, and like even like little kids, if I'm at a car show and they're looking, and their parents like, oh, back up. I'll open the door and go, hey, sit in it, and they'll take the steering wheel, act like they're driving, because I feel like if you do that
gets them interested.
Yeah, and then that, like even like go-karts, like if I bring a go-kart, like we had a little car.
He's got it out.
Yeah, we had a little car show at our church, and they were little. It was for like the little kid, It was literally all of our cars, but like I brought, the truck and Stan Lee. And they're like, oh, can I sit in it? And we're like, yeah, go ahead. And they're like, oh, this is perfect for me. And, and I just feel like that could help, keep the, line of old cars still going,
Yeah, totally.
If you just spark their interest a bit. We should probably try to get more of the, like, do a little walk around.
Close the hood down. There we go.
So, did you repaint it?
I did, yep.
Okay.
Yep, I took it all apart, everything. The fenders, hood, doors, trunk lid.
Now, where do you find, how do you get the paint color? How do you do you get it matched and then they make the color?
Actually, I took the letter from the door jamb. There's the paint codes in the jamb.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Color Z. So I take that letter Z to the paint store where there's a GMC paint center just down the road from me, and I gave them the year of the car and the paint code, and they mixed me up.
Oh wow!
Paint.
That's cool.
And it's the gallon can had about that much metallic in the bottom of it. That's why it was a nightmare to spray, because the metallic is heavy, so it settles in the paint. So you got to keep it mixing continuously, and then acrylic enamels. Takes about 20 minutes between coats. It stays tacky, and the paint still flows and moves for that 10 or 15 minutes after you spray it. So the metallic moves around, so you can't, once it starts looking funny, there's no straightening it up. You got to sand it out and respray it. And but and if you get too heavy with the paint, it might look good when you're done putting the paint on, then you come back a half an hour later and you got big
Yeah.
runs in it. So you gotta, enamels are a trick to paint. But they're my favorite paint because they're durable.
Yeah.
I paint all my cars with acrylic enamel.
That's cool. Now the interior, is that all original, or did you?
I replaced it. I got it from Distinctive Interiors through New England Mustangs was the name. The only difference I see between the side panels is the original ones had like little white marks. If you look real closely, it looks like try to simulate stitching is what they did.
Mm-hmm.
And there was little white marks that made it look like white thread was stitched in there, but it was
okay.
just dyed, and you know, it was like a silk screen almost on the vinyl.
Okay.
Other than that, it's all the same. This is the original top boot to the car from 1966
Oh, wow.
because the top boot they sent me didn't fit. So I sent them back this boot and the one that didn't fit, and they sent me another one that even fits worse. So I just put this one back on the car, and come winter, I got a walking foot sewing machine. They'll sew this with no problem. So I'll just make I got the vinyl and everything. I'll just make my own top boot come winter. In the summertime, I get too busy with, you know, work related and gardening, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of other things I like to do other than cars. These are my winter projects.
Yeah.
So guys, there it is, and sorry if it seems a bit choppy. Howard and I, when we were talking, we ended up starting to talk about other cars, and I wanted this video to be kind of focused in on his Galaxie, and this is going to be a first video of a second video, because we got, with the Howard, we got a video, and then cruising. So I just hope you guys enjoyed this video, and his cars, both of his cars look amazing. He's a very talented guy, so if you are not subscribed to him, I recommend it. And make sure you like and subscribe this video, like and comment on this video. And I hope you guys could subscribe if you'd like, and hope you enjoyed your cruise down the Lashman Road.